Can you imagine what it's like to be a Formula One driver? All the training, the diet plans, the technical debriefs, just for that moment of pure competition when you can do a slow motion walk to make all the sponsors pleased.
Bit awkward, isn't it really? Formula One postponed its new rules designed to give us more overtaking and exciting racing until 2022, and then the 2021 season with the old cars, the most exciting title battle in decades. So, as Fernando Alonso walks past, we've been invited to Catalonia to join the Alpine Formula One team for the first time running the new car. Morning, Esteban. Let's go and get in their way, shall we? Alrighty then, here's what we're here to see then, a 2022 Formula One car. Not a real one, I confess. They do have a real one in the garage. I asked if we could shoot around that, and what the engineers told me to go and do it myself isn't broadcastable. So here's the dummy car instead, but we can still see, with an F1 driver looking in behind me, some of the new changes. Big one here, 18-inch wheels, up from 13s. Why is that impressive, apart from the aero cover over the wheel? Well, the tyre is now much more low profile. That means you've got to completely redesign the suspension because the tyre is no longer squidging and absorbing some of those bumps. Now, come and have a look down here. Front wing profile is entirely changed. This isn't the real nose, but it gives you some sort of idea. How high you have the wing off the floor is going to be a really critical thing. Do you want the air going underneath it, or do you want to kind of deflect it over? Now, come down here. These parts, these wheel spats, these are supposed to calm the airflow down, coming all off this turbulent tyre that's doing 200 miles an hour. That is going to calm down some of that horrible, dirty air. That's what the whole philosophy of these cars is about. Calm down the dirty air, all this turbulence coming off the back of the car that makes them really, really hard to follow. Critical for that, in here, there's big tunnels that are sucking air under the car. That's where the car's generating loads of its downforce. So you're depending less on the wings, more on the underfloor. It's old school 1970s style downforce. Okay, back here, cooling for the Alpine, that's much better this time. The cooling package is 15% smaller, also means that the turbo, they've split the turbo. Yeah. Got almost there, but yeah, it's a bit rushed here, as you can see. We've got in the way and the Ferrari needs to come out now. So I'll tell you about the rest of the car later.
Yeah, sorry, man.
No, don't you apologise.
Right, yeah, I feel sorry because I know how it feels.
Obviously, you must be frustrated. You want to go for a drive.
I want to go for it more than anything.
Okay, back in the garage. Ignore that pesky Ferrari interrupting us earlier. Let's get back to having a look around this 2022 not real Alpine F1 car. The halo, obviously that's back, the safety device that protects the driver's head, but on the real car just over there that I'm not allowed to show you, they've got little winglets here, give you more downforce from the safety device. Interesting. Come with me. Engine cover. This has got a lot smaller for the latest Alpine. I said some rubbish earlier about the turbo being smaller. It's not smaller. What they've done is they've split the turbines for the turbo either side the engine block. That means that the bits of the engine you need to keep cool stay a bit cooler, and that means you get more horsepower. Mercedes came up with that very, very clever innovation 8 years ago, and since then they've won 8 Constructors' World titles. So good one, Renault, for catching on. Come with me down here. Look at this rear wing. This is all mandated now, the shape of this. Look how steep this angle is at the back, and what that's here to do, obviously this is generating downforce, pushing the car into the track, but by having it so steep, the air shoots off the back almost vertically, and the dirty air that the other cars are having to drive through, when you use that, when you've got the Venturi tunnels under the car generating the downforce, means it should be easy to follow. Now, I've had a word with some Alpine engineers, and they've said that whereas in the old Formula One cars, if you got within 5 or 6 seconds of following, the car was horrible to drive, these cars can follow each other a second apart, and they're still really, really fast, really drivable, and shouldn't wreck their tyres, which means that we, the fans, should get some great races. Thing is, of course, well, Alpine and everyone else, they don't want their cars to be easy to follow. They want them to be a nightmare to overtake. So on the real car over there, I imagine what they're working on is complying with all those rules, but making their car as annoying as possible for everyone else.
There's no one better to talk to about exciting new race cars than exciting new racing drivers. First up, 20-year-old Australian and reigning Formula 2 champion, Oscar Piastri.
Oscar, thanks very much for your time. I know this is a quiet day by Formula One standards, but can you give us an idea of how the Formula One circus compares to a day in F2 or F3?
It's actually surprisingly busy. So I've been doing media the whole morning.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay, which is, I think it's probably the most I've done, for my whole career in one day. So, and there's still only, what time are we at? 11. So we've still got a long way to go. But no, it's busy. and yeah, I'm sure it'll only get busier. There's a lot of people here, obviously, compared to F2 and F3. I think there's probably more people in one team than the whole F2 paddock. So yeah, it's a bit different.
Now you're the reserve driver, we should explain, for Alpine this year. Can you give people watching an idea who don't know what a reserve driver really does, what your day-to-day job is?
Yep, so the first, I guess, role of being reserve driver is it's basically the backup driver. So if Fernando or Esteban can't race for whatever reason, then I'll take their place on the race weekend. And so that's the main role of reserve driver. And then a lot of my other work will be in the simulator back at Enstone, back at the factory, trying to make the new car as fast as possible and help Esteban and Fernando as much as I can. And that's really the two main areas where I can assist.
So have you driven the car in the simulator yet already?
I have, yes.
But not in real life?
Not in real life, no.
How much can you glean from driving it on what is basically the world's greatest computer game? Can you sense the differences for the new rules?
Yes, you can definitely feel it's different. Obviously, you know, it's very accurate to real life, but without driving the real car in real life, there's always a bit of uncertainty. So I'm sure after testing we'll have a better model back in the sim. But yeah, you can definitely tell there's some differences to the previous generation of car. It's a bit more tricky to drive. The way the aero works is much more focused on the floor and trying to keep that as close to the ground as possible. So the cars are much stiffer, or I'm sure a lot of people will be running them much stiffer, so it's a bit more uncomfortable. And also just the way the aero works, it behaves a bit differently. There's a bit of a high speed versus low speed split. So yeah, in low speed there's probably going to be a bit less grip, and high speed the same, if not even more grip than previously.
Wow, so high speed corners, you're really going to be able to send it.
Yes, so it's a little bit of an odd dynamic because you know the difference in grip and high speed and low speed is going to be quite a bit different to the previous generation.
I'd love to ask you for a title prediction, but given the pyjamas you're wearing, I'm sure you're not going to give me a straight up answer, but do you think we're likely to see, with the new rules, with the levelling of the playing field, likely to see shocks, or do you think similar teams in positions where they were in the championship last year?
I think we could see a few shocks. Obviously the last time we had such a big regs change like this was probably 2009.
When you were how old?
I was, yep, 7, just about 8. And Braun, you know, came in out of nowhere and smashed the field for the first half of the season.
Yeah, it was such a Hollywood story.
Exactly. So, you know, we could see something like that again. I'm not 100% sure we will. I'm sure the usual suspects will be somewhere at the front, and obviously, hopefully, Alpine can make some more progress towards the front. But yeah, I guess we'll find out in the first qualifying session. That's usually when all the sandbags get dropped out and everyone's real pace comes out.
We look forward to it. Perfect. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
Formula One might be the fastest motorsport in the world, but on an early test day like this, there's an awful lot of hurry up and wait. I've just seen Esteban walking around the car, looking impatient, really wanting to go out in it. We heard that it was about to be turned on, so we legged it down here, got all the cameras set up, but now they've got to do some adjustments on the seat belts. And what's really funny is, on the one hand, you've got a guy, a mechanic, making minute adjustments to the front wing with a little tool that looks like it should be used by a dentist to do keyhole surgery. And then on the other side, there's a mechanic literally punching one of the brake ducts to get it to fit. Obviously, this is the first time the car has been properly assembled, and they're learning for the very first time. It's really fascinating to watch and quite incredibly stressful.
Right, let's hear from someone with real experience of Formula One racing going back through decades. Two-time Formula One world champion and deck chair enthusiast, Fernando Alonso.
Fernando, thank you very much for your time. 20 years in Formula One, this is your 20th pre-season. You've been here for V8s, V10s, for turbo hybrid, big wing, small wing. How do you think this rule change is going to compare for you?
Well, let's see. I think
the Ferrari interrupt.
yeah, still having to be discovered. I don't think that anyone has any idea yet. Everything is meant to be a little bit closer and having more action on track as well, able to follow cars a little bit closer. So let's see.
I mean, when you started, the cars were a lot smaller and lighter. What do you think over your career has been the car that you've most enjoyed driving? Has it been the earlier ones?
Yeah, the early ones for sure.
Yeah.
I think when they were much lighter, they were more reactive, and the V10, also the sound of those engines were part of the DNA probably of F1. So yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah. Now, as like the most experienced guy in the field, what is it that keeps you coming back? What is it that motivates you to just do all of this every season?
Well, I love driving, and I love I love competing, and Formula One gives you that adrenaline for sure to be against the best. And the teams, they are so professional, they are so sophisticated, these cars, that is obviously a pure joy to drive. And I love driving, so that's why I keep going.
What are the chances for a shock this season, a Brawn GP moment? Do you think possible, or do you think similar standings to last year?
Yeah, I don't think that we will have a huge surprise. I think FIA was on top of any grey area that the teams may discover. But we saw, the cars, they have all different philosophies. Some of them they will be right, some of them they will be wrong. And let's see if Alpine is the right one.
That's great. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Alpine's other driver won the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix. It's the fantastically humble, approachable Frenchman that is Esteban Ocon.
Esteban, thank you for your time. Esteban Ocon, race winner, of course, last season. How many times have you watched that replay on YouTube now?
I have actually rewatched the full race, but thank you
on.
very much. It sounds very nice to hear. But no, I've watched the highlights and obviously the radio communication that we had with my team and my engineers. So no, it feels good. Obviously, a lot of work has been done over many years to arrive to that position. So yeah, it's great.
And of course, you won that race by avoiding carnage at the start and then leading from the front. These new rules are designed to make cars that are easier to follow. So how do you think that's going to help your team?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely hope that will be the case.
I think we're going to get interrupted by the Ferrari just now.
He's leaving now, actually. He's actually just doing pit stops. That's very clever.
They're practicing pit stops. Look at this. Okay, they've calmed down for us. That's very polite of them. So you're saying about how is this going to help your team, the new regulations?
Yeah, I mean, the cars are redistributed, so we restart from scratch, which is a big help because obviously Mercedes and Red Bull have been dominating this era a little bit, the previous one. So it's good that we start from zero again. It's very different to any past F1 cars that we've had, and it's going to be very exciting, to develop. It's not necessarily where you're going to start that you're going to end up. So there's going to be a big rate of development all the way through the season. And yeah, we are going to have to be on it from day one.
Do you think that having the slimmer tyres and the different way of generating downforce, does that make the car more demanding to drive? I've heard that it's going to make it even faster through high-speed corners, which sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we will see. We'll see about that. So far, it's only speculations, but for sure the cars are going to be very low. I mean, we've seen the Ferrari passing on the straight and it was bumping, touching a lot. The tyres, as you were saying before, they are quite thin, so that's going to impact a lot the ride on the curbs and everything. It's a heavy car now, heavy wheels, a lot of technology on board, a lot of safety as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to develop so fast that, quite quickly the cars are going to become, I think, the fastest machine again.
I know Alpine have said they're only targeting maybe fifth this season. They're still seeing it as like the start of a development curve. Fifth sounds a bit conservative to me. Have you got a personal target? Is that just to get more points than Fernando?
No, I mean, my target is to continue the progress that I've done over the last year. We've put ourselves into great position and we want to do that, more often. Of course, if we have a competitive car, some top 5, some podiums, that would be fantastic. But we want to come out of weekends thinking, okay, I've done the maximum I had with the car that we had in hands, and nothing left on the table. I appreciate
Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Well, hopefully that was an interesting look around a Formula One car being run for 2022 for the very first time. Been quite chaotic, hasn't it? Not normally Formula One style. Normally every second is accounted for, but quite like that it's been mad. It sort of shows Formula One's more human side, and it just goes to show how much effort and how many people are involved in getting one of those monsters to run as fast as it can. Just absolutely tremendous stuff. Okay, come with me. I need to go and get ready. The team have said, unbelievably, that I'm going to be allowed a quick go in the car. So this is my moment. This is my Formula One audition. Let's go get stuck in. It's not quite as easy as Fernando makes it look, actually.